Alright everyone, today's video is going to be a little bit different than the traditional build guides. This is going to be instead an overview of skill builds in PvP, in particular the Seeker Mine and the Sticky Bomb skill builds of old that you could use to one-shot enemy players, and why builds similar to that, or builds attempting to do that in patch 1.8, are completely and utterly useless. The skill builds are dead, and especially in PvP, and cannot be used hardly at all. Now, there's a lot of different segments to this video, so I hope you'll bear with me while I explain myself thoroughly. The first big distinction that I need to make is that I am not talking about healer skill builds in any way, shape, or form. As you can see on my defibrillator, I have 405,000 for ally heal. If you are a healer, then your skill build is super effective. It is highly efficient, and you can provide a tremendous amount of utility and value to your team, both in PvP and PvE. I am specifically discussing Seeker Mine and Sticky Bomb skill builds, which have been highly requested on the channel. There's comments, there's messages, there's a whole bunch of different ways that people have asked me to make Seeker Mine and Sticky Bomb build guides. So I am responding to that, and I am not discussing healer builds. So again, if you are running a healer build, I am not saying that your skill build is dead or is terrible. Yours is probably quite good and has a lot of effect. The second big distinction before really diving in is that I am also not discussing PvE. I'm talking about player versus player in the Dark Zone, in Skirmish, in Last Stand, and similar environments. I am not talking about player versus environment, or, players fighting NPCs. The Sticky Bomb in particular, when fighting NPCs, is effective and can be used well. I am discussing, however, PvP and how skill builds, the offensive damage-oriented skill builds utilizing those two skills in PvP, are utter garbage. There's a very simple test that I can do in order to demonstrate this. There's hours upon hours of live gameplay when I was in the live stream of me trying to use Seeker Mine and Sticky Bomb against real players in real time in the Dark Zone and kind of just getting my ass kicked. But the simple test is more than enough to demonstrate my point. So the build that I've thrown together is 4 pieces of Tactician. This would not change if it was the 6-piece tac. So before anyone goes down the comment section and says, you're wrong. If you had 6-piece Tactician with 60 stacks, then it would be able to one-shot or it would be able to deal competitive damage. That's not true at all. The build that I'm throwing together and the point that I'm making will remain sound even if I had 6-piece tac. In fact, I think it's actually proven better by the setup that I've thrown together. But moving on, I've got Barrett's Vest for 10% increased skill power there. I've got an Inventive Backpack for 15% while at full health. And then I've got 4 pieces of Tactician's Authority. Now I've rolled every single piece to electronics. I do not have any stamina or any firearms whatsoever. And then I have all electronics mods with skill power on top of that. Not to mention the fact that I then have skill power as a major attribute on the knee pads, on the backpack, I believe, yes, on the backpack as well, and on the mask. So I have the maximum amount of skill power that I can possibly get without having 60 Tactician stacks. Now, in addition to that fact, I am stacking to 30 Tactician stacks as well as proccing Talented from my weapon for an additional 15% bonus skill power. I have Talented, 30 stacks, and then as soon as I am back at full health, I will then have Inventive active as well. This will put us in the vicinity of, as soon as we are at full health, about 600,000 skill power. Now, if we fire the Sticky Bomb and detonate it, we don't even die. We are still alive, even with our glass cannon build with 600,000 skill power after that test. Now, we can in fact kill ourselves if we do put the Sticky Bomb directly underneath our feet, like literally just straight under our character. Now again, this is with about 600,000 skill power, and we put the Sticky Bomb down. We have to stand exactly on top of it and then detonate in order to, what would have been a kill but my signature procced, get enough damage to get a kill. Now, some people may be thinking, yes, it is possible to get one-shots, right? There are more buffs out there, and if we take a look at some of the other buffs, you can see that they are quite strong. We have talents like Demolition Expert, which increases explosive damage by 20% for 15 seconds when I get a kill with an explosion. That is quite strong. If you have that proc, that will boost the efficiency of Sticky Bomb. You have things like Chain Reaction. If there are 2 or more targets in the area, you'll get 20% additional blast damage. These things can boost the efficiency of the build. You have things like Death by Proxy, 20% more skill power for 30 seconds. But testing with about 600,000 skill power, we found that I was only able to one-shot myself, and only when I was standing directly on top of the sticky bomb. The reason this is so troubling, and I believe an example of why Sticky Bomb and Seeker Mine skill builds are completely dead, is because just look at the build that I'm running. I have 0 additional stamina. I have 314,000 toughness. I know very few other agents that are running around with a build that is this squishy. Additionally, I am also taking a look at my character sheet and scrolling down to survivability, not running any exotic damage resilience whatsoever. That's at 0%. A great number of the builds out there right now in the current meta are running exotic damage resilience on at least 1 or 2 pieces of gear, and even on their mods. If they have any EDR at all, that will drastically reduce the amount of damage that your sticky bomb is dealing. Lastly, I was taking into consideration a large amount of the buffs. I did have Talented from my weapon active, which is an additional 15%. I had a full 30 stack of Tactician's Authority stacks, which then gave me 30% additional skill power. I did have full health during the tests to proc Inventive for an additional 15, and there are other bonuses, and as well as Barrett's. I did have both of my skills off of cooldown, which meant that I had an additional 10% from Barrett's. There are so many moving parts required to give you enough skill power to even one-shot yourself or a base level 0 stamina, 0 EDR build that is as squishy as an enemy agent can possibly be. The amount of things required is so sky high that the build is completely unusable. Now, before anyone, jumps to conclusions and starts to spout off about performance mods being sticky bomb damage and having 4 of those at 4% each is an additional 16%, I do have those on the build. I have my electronics mods with skill power and 4% sticky bomb damage in all of my performance mod slots. So I have taken into consideration everything that you possibly can and pushed it to the limit to try and make a one-shot sticky bomb or a one-shot Seeker Mine build viable, and I just can't do it, and I don't believe that it's practical in any way, shape, or form. The same thing is true of Seeker Mine, if not even more so. Even with Seeker Mine damage on all of your performance mods, having over 600,000 skill power and using it on an enemy agent, it will take 1/10 of 1 bar sometimes. It will do absolutely no damage. So Seeker Mine is in the exact same boat as Sticky. To summarize, a Sticky Bomb as a healer build, providing utility and healing to your teammates with something like Defibrillator, can do a lot of good. It is a very strong combination to run with other DPS builds, and it can be very, very valuable. A PvE version of a Sticky Bomb or Seeker Mine build can do really well there. You can detonate the bomb on NPCs and do tremendous amounts of damage. You can excel through legendary missions and be an asset to your team. But when you are talking about offensive-based skill builds in PvP, they are completely unusable. And this is due to the diminishing returns. If we look at the amount of skill power that I have as a base, you can see 446,000. That is right up there at the diminishing returns cap. What this means is that all of the bonus skill power that I'm getting from sources like Tactician's Authority or Talented on my weapon or even Death by Proxy as a talent is at a diminished value. It is worth less than the amount of skill power that I already have on the build. And I think what we need is a reversal of diminishing returns, because skill power is very, very crippled by this fact, by the 450,000 skill power diminishing returns soft cap. It's crippled by it because if you are, trying to get that one-shot sticky bomb build, which I don't even necessarily think should be a reality for most players, but if you really are chasing that, pushing the build to the limit, getting upwards of 600 or even close to 700,000 skill power with the right setups, then you should be able to deal competitive damage. Considering it's all tied to one skill, even if you can't one-shot a 9,000 stamina striker or Predator's Mark build, that's okay. If they've stacked EDR, then they should be immune to those one-shots. But you should be able to reliably kill mid-range players that don't have very high defenses and are not prepared or spec'd in to defend against this. We live in a world now where there are counters and loadouts, and I think that skill power having diminishing returns at 450,000 is destroying competitive PvP-based offensive detonation skill builds. That's going to pretty much wrap it up for the video, guys. It's not really a traditional build. It's more of my response to the fact that people have been requesting that I build something like this, that I build Sticky Bomb or Seeker Mine for so long, and it really just wouldn't be viable. I could put it up on the channel and show the 1 in 10,000 clip where I finally do get a one-shot off or get competitive damage on a group of enemy agents that results in them going down, but it's not realistic. A, I probably couldn't even get that footage in any sort of normal amount of time, and B, it would be a straight up lie. So my hope is that they rebalance skill power in some way in PvP. I am not saying that I want to see one-shot universal sticky bombs return in the sense where you can fire and forget and know that everything in the radius will die, similar to the airburst Seeker Mine in the old patch 1.4, 1.5 era, where you would drop down an airburst Seeker Mine and it could destroy an entire team. I do not want to see that return, but I think if you're speccing every single thing on every single piece of gear and every single stat into skill power and electronics, that you should be able to at least have competitive damage with those offensive skills. That's really going to wrap it up, though. I'm going to stop rambling here. Check out the Patreon down below if you want to support the channel. YouTube is not so reliable these days. Also, check out the website. Check out the Facebook group. We have a lot of great gamers and a great community there, and feel free to join. Thank you for watching, as always, and have a nice night.